Hello there. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time frame it is for you, and happy Friday to you. If you're not celebrating, obviously it's Friday, so go out there and get her done. I'm going to start today's show with a short clip from the Part Show. If you haven't checked out the full episode, a good friend of mine, Kaylee Fellio, was talking a little bit about probably the most untalked about service department out there, which is the parts department. Going to start with a short clip. Here we go.
So that I have more time to do more important things.
Yeah, I've been reading.
And it's the same for everyone.
Yeah, I've been reading a book recently or listening to it. Good to Great. It's an old book, but they talk about the hedgehog concept. And it's kind of interesting just because it talks about the fox versus the hedgehog and the fact that the hedgehog is just way smarter and way more defended than the fox. The fox is always trying to get an advantage, but can't seem to get it handled, which I thought was interesting. And as I've looked and worked at different service departments of various sizes, anything from small Mitsubishi stores to large Toyota and Audi and Chrysler stores, one that even had a night shift. So they were fixing diesel trucks at night, which was kind of interesting. And I have seen some stuff with robots delivering parts, which I think is kind of interesting as well.
That is.
Yeah. But when you're looking at sort of that parts edge client and you're saying, hey, this is where you are now, and then you're looking back 6 months after they work with you, like what's the upside for them? Like what have you seen as the repercussion of fixing these things?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing when I'm interviewing on just like progress and what we've done for them, I just always hear them say they have more time. And sometimes it doesn't, like when you think about time, it doesn't seem that important to like when you're like a GM thinking like, oh cool, my parts manager has more time. But it allows them more time to be more creative with the way that they're looking at that investment, because in reality they're an asset manager and they're not just so it's like the time is very valuable to a parts manager, and giving them more visibility on the data so that they can make better decisions. And then just automating some of the things that should just be automated in the DMS. A lot of times I think when we set up a DMS and a system, some of the parts managers forget that parts edge is in the background doing a lot of it, and they think the DMS is doing it. And it should, but it doesn't do it without us. So there's a lot of layers to it.
So that's a little bit about the interview from Kaylee Fellow on the Parts Show. If you're in the parts department or looking to drive more revenue in parts, obviously look at examples like Harley Davidson or other high-end retailers that are clearly moving parts through the showroom as well as through the parts department. Another tip is obviously use a little screen in your parts department in addition to television or replacement of, where you can talk about parts specials. But let's get into it. And good afternoon, good evening. So when I'm talking about parts and I'm talking about service specials in general and parts, there's always, a lack of what I'd consider great parts specials or specials that I've even seen. When I worked years ago selling websites to car dealers, what I noticed is that not only were there not really good specials on the sales side for, say, car specials, but also on the service side for service specials. Should be seasonal specials, should be specials, or maybe you have some inventory, maybe you can pass along some savings with parts you have in inventory. Maybe you can have specials around maybe parts you have in stock that maybe you order for customers, those kind of specials. Think of it like specials they have at restaurants or hotels, seasonal. But when you're looking at service offers, it's also a great way to really make your website more sticky. If a customer's on your website and they're looking for specials, whether that be in sales or service, and we know a segment of the traffic for a website and a large percentage of the calls are for service, there's an opportunity to tell a different story to those customers, maybe as they're getting ready for summer, getting ready for winter, tire storage if you're in the Canadian or North American northern market, maybe just replacement of tires, those kind of things. So when I look at service offers, and more specifically dealers that sell a lot of parts and obviously drive a lot of service revenue, it's really about asking better questions. I know we have customers that come in that have a problem, maybe it be a recall, maybe it's a noise in their car, maybe we're listening to other problems. But also, what we could set up was a potential parts sale or parts special based on identified problems, or just based on things that you notice or the specials you might have going on. When I'm at, small retailers like Walmart, for example, they'll have a special, or a grocery store sometimes have a special of the week. Those little mentions, much like when you're mentioning things, say at a Starbucks or at a gas station, where it's like, hey, we have this 2-for-1 special. Just by mentioning those things, what you're going to find is you're going to pick up some business. But not only that, why wouldn't you be mentioning that on your website or on the phone call when the customer books the service appointment? Now, obviously, if you're doing that online or using some of the new AI solutions, you can definitely bake that in. But when you're looking at service specifically, and when you're looking at specials, and just so you know, today the show will be going a little bit shorter moving forward, just because I find it's more fitting for the parts side and the service side of the business to have a show that's, say, half an hour to 45 versus an hour. Just seems a lot on a Friday to do that show. And also, I think we can get through it a lot quicker and still have the same value. But when we're looking at service specials, I guess my question for the studio audience is, what service specials have you seen? And what do you recommend for service specials that maybe a dealer should run or isn't thinking of running? While I'm waiting for some comments there, maybe I'll give you my 10 cents. When you're looking at seasonal specials, to pick something, you can look at things like, a windshield washer special in the winter time, or a windshield wiper special or a brake special, depending on the time of year. Get ready for summer, get ready for winter, those types of specials. But also, just having those specials when maybe your competition in the market doesn't, will make your website more sticky and pick up more additional revenue per RO in the service side of the house. If you don't have any ideas, you may want to do a little homework online to see whether it's using AI to do a search, or whether it's seasonally, to see what's going on in your industry, whether it be at branded dealerships like yours, or whether it be third parties. I know, whether it be Walmart or Costco or Jiffy Lube or those type of companies, they're definitely running specials all the time. But more importantly, look for best special packaging to not only drive revenue, but to make it appealing for a customer. When you're looking at something like windshield washer fluid, when it's in a cold climate, obviously replacing that, or a snowy or rainy climate, it might make sense to just have a 2-for-1 special there. I know gas stations do this quite often. I even saw my gas station today was doing a car wash special to pre-buy a package of car washes, which I thought was really interesting. I'm even seeing specials now being prompted on the gas stations themselves. You also see that even in airports, as you're walking through, they'll have like a 2-for-1 water special, or they'll have some morning, meal deal. And that's also true with McDonald's and places like that. You really need to be thinking of it, but more importantly, as a service team, or maybe as a sales and service team, you'd be looking at ways to add value in the meeting and maybe get input from your team, those kind of things. In terms of the best components of service offers, in my opinion, it's something that's timely. So it's something that adds value for that customer. It's something that makes a lot of sense for the dealership if they maybe happen to get a special deal on those products or services. Maybe it's something that fills the schedule. If you don't have, let's say, for example, a full schedule of service, maybe it's something where you can draw people in for, say, a free inspection, and then tailor that up or partner that up with other products that make sense based on those inspections. Also, you can incentivize your service writers to ask those questions when customers check in and say, hey, were you aware of this? Were you aware of that? And adding that to that conversation will not only pick up incremental business, it will add value to the customers. Of course, timing it up seasonally when you're doing, say, a winter, summer, fall, spring break, whatever those may be, makes sense. But it's also something you need to refresh. And you really need to think about sort of what makes sense for your store, but also what makes sense for the customer. At the end of the day, when you're looking at ways to add value in the service drive, it's really about having a meeting, much like you would on anything else, having that meeting around, like a brainstorming session. What are your thoughts, service writers? What are you hearing from customers? What are you seeing out there on the marketplace? And then maybe kicking it around for a while, because remember, service offers could be monthly or quarterly. They could be more often than that, but that's probably good. Advertising that on your website. So making a special section. So when someone goes to service, there's service specials, much like there's car specials on the special side. And also looking at offers to see if you have 4 or 5 offers, which ones have a high take rate. If you have ones that aren't having a high take rate, obviously you can replace those on a weekly, monthly basis. But remember, if you're putting anything on a website, whether it be advertising or an offer, you really want to look at it and say, okay, give it the time to get the traction, but also change that up if you're not getting the traction. That's true if it's a used car offer. It's true if it's a service offer. It's true if it's a parts offer. It's true if it's something like, car washes, for example. The other thing you can do, which I think is a great way to drive not only engagement, but retention in the service drive, is come up with some sort of contest where it's like, let's do a contest on services where you do those services, you complete an RO, you get entered for something. Let's do a contest for those service writers where they sell a certain amount of, a product or service that's tailored to that offer, where they get a bonus structure. Look at it and tie it to CSI and see if that has an impact on CSI when you recommend more things that maybe are timely. Obviously talk to your suppliers and say, hey, if I was to buy, more of this product, will you give me a special value so then I can pass that on to my customers? Look at what's in the parts department in terms of parts or accessories that maybe you have excess inventory, and maybe you can tie it to the current tariff scare where you can say, hey, special pricing for a limited time based on tariffs. It's a sale in terms of tariffs. All those things are great ideas, but more importantly, you need to think about it on a regular basis. So it's not like a one and done scenario, but you may have a service offer or parts offer that is year round. Something like a free inspection should be an offer all the time. An annual alignment, or at least an 18-month alignment, is also another way to really drive alignment, but also drive other business around that. Tires should be something that's always part of it, but in addition to offers from the tire manufacturers, they may also be a seasonal tire opportunity at your store. That's really all I have to say about the service offer side. But I think the first step, as stated, is number one, look what's out there in the marketplace. Look at what's great offers you see, maybe not just in auto, but in other retailers who sell automotive parts or services. Look at how other businesses and other industries are selling or adding those offers. See how they're advertising on their website, seeing how they're getting engagement and pushing results. And then come up with some that make sense for your dealership and your team. But more importantly, measure those offers. So measure what you have out there and see what works. What doesn't work, you always have the option to change your mind. Also, maybe talk to customers and say, hey, we're always looking for great ways to, save our customers money. Is there something that maybe you've been putting off in terms of a service on your vehicle, or putting off in terms of an accessory? Is there some way we can make that more affordable, to you so that you would move forward with that? You can also tie it up with, maybe specials that you target a specific group of people that maybe decline the RO. You could do a special offer for those customers. Say, hey, we're having a special on alignments right now. I noticed on your work order that you haven't done that, and you should have done that a couple of months ago. So you can really look at all those things together and, see what it is you can put together. From a point of view of creating the offers, that's really a question of putting it together on what I would call a brainstorming board, or a dream board almost, where you sit down and you throw out ideas as a group, maybe in your service meeting or in your service to sales meeting. You put it up on a whiteboard or on a blackboard or on a piece of paper, and everyone puts input, and then you vote on it. And then, of course, you try it. I think the biggest mistake we make in auto is doing it sometimes the same way we've always done it, and really not thinking about what those things could be done and accomplished to not only add value for the customer, but add revenue for the dealership. And also create that atmosphere of that we care about the customers, and we care about not only servicing their vehicle, but also making it more affordable, especially when times are tough with inflation and other factors in the market space today. That's pretty much all I have to say on the topic. I know this show's a little bit short this week. Looking forward to next week's show where we talk more about offers and sales, which is on Monday. And then I will be announcing the Friday show over the weekend. For next week, the shows moving forward on fixed ops will be shorter. So they're going to be a half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on guests. And I appreciate you taking the time today to watch more about service offers. If you are looking for examples out there, definitely visit your local Walmart, visit your local Jiffy Lube, visit your local Costco, especially in the tire side of the house if they have a shop there. See what your hotel chains are doing and the airport, see what they're doing, your local restaurant, local hotel. See what offers are out there that are interesting, and obviously feel free to steal those ideas and implement them in your store. But don't forget to measure, adapt, change as needed, and make sure that you do these offers, or at least on a seasonal basis. You may also have offers that you run all year round. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day, and happy Friday.